This is A Game, fast acting, long lasting, with no side effects.
Hey, all my Crimsonites, and welcome to the Crimson Cure channel, where we embrace our femininity, increase our womanly value, and celebrate our brothers. So join me on our feminine journey to learn, heal, and grow. Hey there, my Crimsonites, and welcome to the Crimson Cure channel. I'm your host, femininity coach, and author of The Crimson Cure, and this is my perspective. So we haven't touched on it yet, so I wanted to go ahead and touch on, everyone is aware of the recent passing of Queen Elizabeth II and King Charles ascending the throne upon the passing of his mother. And there's a lot of conflict going on because while most people, especially if you are from the UK or you're British, then you grew up with a reverence for and a respect for the monarchy taught to you from when you were little. Not being from the UK, I don't have that experience. I wouldn't think that most Americans, if I may be so bold to speak for those of us who were born and raised here in America, we don't really have that sort of thought pattern about the monarchy. For me, it was always something that you just saw on TV with all of the pageantry and, you know, if there was a wedding or, you know, if there was some big, you know, ceremony that was being had and the royals were going to be there and all of that sort of thing. So that was my limited experience with the monarchy because here in America, we don't have a monarchy. And so we don't really have that attachment. However, there are other people in the diaspora that have sort of it's complicated almost because it's not just if you're in Britain proper, but all of its Commonwealth states, which is just a really sweet way of saying all of the states that it colonized and conquered, okay? And there are many across the diaspora that's not feeling it. They're not feeling mourning and, you know what I'm saying, all of this pomp and show about how sad you are, you know, about her passing. And the reason why there's this sort of, you know, mixed emotion about it is because of what the monarchy stands for, how it was built, how it accumulated its wealth, you know, and all of these things. And she reigned over it for 70 years. You know, she passed away now in her 90s, but she was quite a bit healthier and younger when she took the throne. And so there were many things that she could have done, at least acknowledging how the monarchy got where it was, how it gained its power. One of the more notable people who were refusing to mourn her is the South African opposition party, the EFF, or the Economic Freedom Fighters, okay? And I'm actually going to read a letter that they wrote, their official statement about the mourning of Queen Elizabeth II. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to share the screen with you guys. And then here we go. Okay. So this is probably going to be really small. I'm going to try to make this big. Okay. May Elizabeth, the article says, may Elizabeth and her ancestors get what they deserve. South Africans opposition party EFF refuses to mourn the queen. South Africans opposition party, the Economic Freedom Fighters, have refused to mourn Queen Elizabeth II following her demise. The United Kingdom's longest serving monarch died at Balmoral, age 96, after reigning for 70 years. While politicians across the world have shown courtesy and conveyed their condolences, the EFF has announced it will not mourn. In a statement released shortly after Queen Elizabeth II's death, EFF said it would not mourn the monarch because her death is a reminder of the tragic colonial history suffered by Africans. And let's go on to the actual statement, which was issued on Thursday, September the 8th of 2022. It says, the economic freedom fighters notes the death of Elizabeth Alexandra Mary Windsor, the Queen of the United Kingdom and the ceremonial head of state of several countries that were colonized by the United Kingdom. Elizabeth ascended to the throne in 1952, reigning for 70 years as head of an institution built up, sustained, and living off of a brutal legacy of dehumanization of millions of people across the world. We do not mourn the death of Elizabeth because to us, her death is a reminder of a very tragic period in this country and Africa's history. Britain, under the leadership of the royal family, took over control of this territory that would become South Africa in 1795 from Batavian control and took permanent control of the territory in 1806. From that moment onwards, native people of this land have never known peace, nor have they ever enjoyed the fruit of the riches of this land, riches which were and still are utilized for the enrichment of the British royal family and those who look like them. From 1811, when Sir John Cradock declared war against the Amazosha, hopefully I'm saying that correctly, please forgive me if not, in the Zuurveld in what is now known as the Eastern Cape, up until 1906, when the British crushed the Bambatha Rebellion, our interaction with Britain under the leadership of the British royal family has been one of pain and suffering, of death and dispossession, and of dehumanization of African people. We remember how in Nigzeli, I'm sorry if I'm messing these names up, died in the aftermath of the Fifth Frontier War, and how King Hintsa was murdered like a dog on the 11th of May, 1835, during the Sixth Frontier War, and had his body mutilated and his head taken to Britain as a trophy. It was also the British royal family that sanctioned the actions of Cecil John Rhodes, who plundered this country, Zimbabwe, and Zambia. It was the British royal family that benefited from the brutal mutilation of people of Kenya, whose valiant resistance of British colonialism invited vile responses from Britain. In Kenya, Britain built concentration camps and suppressed with such inhumane brutality that the Mau Mau Rebellion, killing Dedan Kimathi on the 18th of February of 1957, while Elizabeth was already queen. This family plundered India via the East Indian Company. It took over control and oppressed the people of the Caribbean islands. Their thirst for riches led to the famine that caused millions of people to die in Bengal, and their racism led to the genocide of the Aboriginal people in Australia. Elizabeth Windsor, during her lifetime, never acknowledged these crimes that Britain and her family in particular perpetrated across the world. In fact, she was a proud flag bearer of these atrocities because during her reign, when the people of Yemen rose to protest against British colonialism in 1963, Elizabeth ordered a brutal suppression of that uprising. During her 70-year reign as queen, she never once acknowledged the atrocities that her family inflicted on native people that Britain invaded across the world. She willingly benefited from the wealth that was attained from the exploitation and murder of millions of people across the world. The British royal family stands on the shoulders of millions of slaves who were shipped away from the continent to serve the interests of racist white capital accumulation, at the center of which lies the British royal family. If there is really life and justice after death, may Elizabeth and her ancestors get what they deserve. So that was a real impassioned statement, cut right down to the chase. Because a lot of people want to talk about or think of colonialism and all of these types of things way, way in the past, to the point where we can forget about them. But Britain still has Commonwealth states and Commonwealth realms that is technically under its control, right? That still to this day would have to challenge Britain for freedom if they didn't want to be ruled over by the monarchy, by the British government. This is still going on in 2022. This hasn't gone anywhere. So it's real interesting to watch sometimes people of African descent around the world sort of mourn without really necessarily thinking about the history. Because are we mourning the death of a monarch, or are we celebrating the continued life of a colonizer? Because the British monarchy didn't die. That's still there. Whether you want to say, oh, it's just a figurehead and, things of that nature, whatever. She still had enough sway and enough power to, at minimum, acknowledge how the seat that she was sitting on. Acknowledge the fact that those crown jewels was wealth that was plundered from these places that they colonized. Even America, supposedly the American Revolution was what? To get out from under the rule of the British monarchy. Had the American Revolution not happened, we would still be somewhere praising the Queen. We're not even going to go down the rabbit hole of that. But I'm just saying, just on the surface. So I haven't seen personally anyone around me that was in mourning or anything like that. Like, we acknowledged it. But if you acknowledge her, you're going to have to acknowledge what she was in charge of, what she was the figurehead of, what she inherited, what Charles just inherited. The legacy of that really can't be swept under the rug. We're at a point now where sweeping that kind of stuff under the rug, that's not going to fly. That's not going to fly. People are waking up. People are starting to understand the true nature of colonization, and we're still living in the aftermath of that. Anytime you can go to any of these places that's still suffering under some part or some version of the lost cause narrative or the lost value system, we still living underneath that. Because there's a reason why skin bleaching go on in places like South Africa and other parts of the African continent. It's a reason why that actually continues on in India and Pakistan. They don't like each other because of that colonization. The Indians are darker and the Pakistanis are actually lighter and considered to be better than the Indians because of skin color, colorism. The Aborigines of the Australian continent was almost wiped to extinction because of that colonization. I've referred to it before, the movie Rabbit Proof Fence, that sort of depicts what they were doing and how. So this kind of stuff hasn't gone anywhere. We're still living in this. Just because, we can dress it up and, the monarchy is supposed to stand for all things beauty and all things regal and, and all of this sort of the riches and the wealth and the elegance and, everything good. But it's not good. It's not all good. It's not all good. And we can't just sweep it under the rug because, like I said, it still has Commonwealth realms that have to pay homage to the monarchy. Still technically, legally under its control. Places they colonized in the 17 and 1800s. The whole region of South Africa went through apartheid in a strenuous form of racism and bigotry. There's some places right now in various parts of South Africa where it's like they're white only. Like it's illegal for you if you melanated to go into these cities. They got their own currency and stuff like that, just so they wouldn't have Nelson Mandela's face on it. That type of thing. That's still happening. So we can't just say, oh, you gotta forget about that. That's the past. No, it's not. It's the current. It's the present. And kudos to that brother. Kudos to those brothers for basically laying it out real straight. We not mourning. We not doing none of that. And the reasons why, and noted different atrocities as the reason. Can't be mad at them. I respect it. We got to start being vocal about it. The time for quiet is over. The time for quiet about Black Lives Matter is also over. So we are holding Black Lives Matter as the global networking foundation as a whole. We are holding them accountable for more than $100 million of theft from the Black community in their donated funds, from donated funds. So if you want to be a part of holding them accountable, go ahead and click the link that's in the description box, sign the petition, share, and also contribute to it. Jump down in the comment section. Let me know what you think about this statement. Like, share, subscribe to the channel if you have not. Once again, I'm your host, The Crimson Cure, and this was my perspective. Bye-bye, Crimsonites.
Hey guys, please like, share, and subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell. And if you've got more to say on the topic, leave a comment down below. Also, don't forget to support our sponsor who so graciously supports this channel by clicking the description box and the link for A-Game at agameherbal.com. You can go ahead and get a 10% discount off of your next purchase using the code Kendra10. This has been yet another Crimson Cure production, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.